guys, it's Brittany. So today's gonna be a movie review, and today I'll be reviewing Scream 3. So Scream 3 came out in February of 2000, and it's just, um, it's also a really good Scream movie, and I feel like this one where you get both those who love it or hate it. But I love it because um, I just love the franchise because it's very different from any of the scary movies that I've seen. And, with each one, it tells, a different story and how the characters are in a different point of their life. And so in Scream 3, it shows how Cotton Weary, how he's, living in Hollywood, and how he, I think he has his own TV show, and things are going very well for him. He has a girlfriend, but then he's stuck in traffic and gets a phone call. But at first, he thinks he has gotten a phone call from a fan, but as it turns out, it's not a fan. It's Ghostface. Someone who, Ghostface who went inside, like broke inside to his house, where his girlfriend is. So I think, yeah, that was his place, where she lives with Cotton. But as we can see, things don't quite turn out when by the time he gets back, because he gets killed. So that was unfair, that he just got killed off, you know. But then, of course, within the movie, we see where Sydney is living somewhere else, and where she has a different identity. She goes by a different name. I think she goes by the name of Laura, I think. And so, we can see that she is a counselor, a women's crisis counselor, and she helps women who are in a terrible crisis, because that's something she can relate to, because she's been through that. So I think it's great that we get to see that, where she's helping other women in terrible crisis, and she's able to talk to them on the phone, because she's working at home. So that's her job, work at home. And then, yeah, then we see where I think Dewey and Gail aren't together, or not even living together, but they're, yeah, I think they hadn't been in touch, but pretty much what we see. And so I think what's very interesting about Scream 3 is that we see these new characters, and of course we like these new characters, but and of course we see this other character, Roman Bridger, but of course the only thing we know about him is that he's a Hollywood director, but we don't know much about him, not until towards the end. And I would say this is like a great story continuing in part 3 within the franchise. And I think the one thing I did not expect or even suspect at all was, towards the ending. And for those who haven't seen Scream 3, do not watch this part because it's a spoiler alert. So, the one thing, I was completely shocked and just like I think you say I was shocked where I was in the moment of like I had to pause and like whoa, 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 wait a minute, what's going on? It was like one of those moments, because towards the ending, we see that Roman Bridger is Sydney's half brother. So her mom is his mom. It's their mother. But who is Roman's father? That we don't know. Now we do know that his father isn't Sydney's father, because if it was, then that would mean that at some point that of course that Maureen and that Neil, that they would have known, you know they would have known already that that's their son, but they just somehow never told Sydney. Or let's say if Sydney grew up with him, then yeah, he would have been her biological brother, but that never happened. But they do share the same mother, but not the father. So yeah, I've been wondering about that too. Like, who is Roman's brother? I don't know. I mean, some are probably guessing it's maybe John Milton, the horror producer. So I'm guessing that's possible. That could be a possibility, but I don't know for sure. Like, I think unless someone really confirms who Roman's father is, whether if it is John Milton or if it's someone else completely, then yeah, we would just, have to know about that. But yeah, I would say this is like a good story to continue within the Scream franchise, and how the characters are in different points in their lives, and how we see Sydney going through this, and like I said, she has this job of a woman's crisis counselor, and Gail, she's doing what she likes to do, but she's also helping Detective Kincaid, so she's helping him. And we see Dewey, we can see that he's still limping because he had been stabbed again and two. So of course, we see him walking, but he's still limping. But of course, we still love Dewey because he's just a very likable character. He's a beloved character, and it's just so sad that he just got killed off so horribly in the fifth. I will not mention that because that really made me sad. So yeah, of course we see him, like, he's he's living with Jennifer. I think he's one of her bodyguards, even though she has a bodyguard. But yeah, I think he's just there because he had no place to live, so he's living in a trailer, near her house. And so, yeah, he's there to, I think, watch over her and protect her, even though her bodyguard is there as well. So it's like she has, two men watching over her, protecting her, which I think that's good. And yeah, so even with these new characters, they're also likable, but at the same time, you don't even know if they could be Ghostface, which turns out they're not. And so yeah, some of these new characters got killed off. Well, actually, I do believe this because I remember when I did first watch it, I remember thinking, okay, something seems very off about this character. And the character I'm talking about is Angelina, because I don't know, I remember when I first, saw her, she seemed nice at first, but then there are some other things she would somehow do or say, and it would just seem kind of off, like, whoa, wait a minute, like, why did she did that, or why did she said that? And then somehow I kept thinking, because she seemed to be acting kind of off, I somehow even wondered, like, if she was Ghostface. And it turns out that I did watch a video. Yeah, there's this video out there if you want to check it out. I'll leave the link in the description below. But there's this video of Craven Something Scary, and he actually mentioned how that it's possible that in Scream 3 that there were not one but two killers, and it wasn't just Roman himself, but it's possible that Angelina was the second killer as well, you know, and that because she seemed to be acting weird, you know, off, you know, in some parts of the movie, that it seemed possible that she was somehow up to something and she was trying to hide something, which makes sense. And it's just like, okay, it's very possible. So I believe that. And I do believe that the reason why they probably never really confirmed that there was a second killer, because I think they just wanted to make it seem possible that it was just all this one person. But I think there was a little bit more to it. So yeah, he goes into full detail in that video, so if you want to check it out, I'll leave the link to his video in the description. And if you want to subscribe to his channel, I'll leave the link to his channel in the description below as well. And so I remember when he was going over it in the video, I remember thinking, okay, this is very possible. I believe it. I don't think it was just Roman himself that did all this. I think Angelina was behind it too, and for what reason, I don't know. But yeah, it was just like shocking. But yeah, I do believe that. And it's weird how she gets killed off, because when she gets killed off, all you see is that all of a sudden you see her there and she's been dragged off, and yet you no longer see her after that. So it's like, okay, something's up. So it's like, either she really did die, or somehow she faked her death and she probably escaped and went ahead and lived a secret life for so many years after that. So yeah, it's very possible. So I do believe that. And now of course, on with the movie, that everyone did such a great job. You know, they did. The cast did great, and you know, I love everyone who did their performances, and the music as well. It's just, you know, the music's great as well. And with Wes Craven, the way he directed this movie just turned out, you know, good. And it's just one of those movies you can still watch over and over again. And yeah, so everyone, you know, did such a great job, and especially with Roger L. Jackson as the voice of Ghostface, like, oh gosh, he is so convincing. Like, the way he sounds is so, I can't even put it to words, but I think the one word I can describe it is very, well, it's very, like, scary, you know, very menacing, you know. And then when you hear his voice, you almost feel, you know, scared yourself, because you feel like, how would you feel if you heard this voice on the phone? And it's like, oh gosh, it'll just give you chills. Because I remember when I heard the voice of Ghostface in the first one, I just remember thinking that I've never heard anything like that. I never heard that kind of um, very unique, scary type of voice. So I never heard anything like that until Scream. So I'm like, okay, I am terrified, So that's what makes Ghostface scary. It's not just the voice, but it's also the whole costume and chasing after you and him trying to you know chase you and and the other thing he does. So yeah. But yes, so Roger L. Jackson did an amazing job because he does so well as the voice of Ghostface, and it's just like I said, it just gives you goosebumps. It's like, oh, and like I said, you just somehow feel that, like you feel like terrified yourself. But still, nonetheless, he does a very good job. And he even makes me feel scared, knowing that he provides the voice of Ghostface. So it's you know what I mean? So yeah, it just has that goosebumps, chills kind of feeling. And yeah, so everything was just done so well. And I would say the twist of Roman being Sydney's half brother, and okay, so that's one twist I did not see coming. And yet we hardly know this character, and yet he turns out to be her half brother. And I think what's also sad too is that she never knew she had a half brother. And then when she had just found out because he revealed, when he took off the mask, she didn't know who he was, but then until he had told her, I'm pretty sure that must have really, shocked her, but also probably made her feel sad because I'm pretty sure she would have loved to had siblings, and yet knowing he was the only sibling he had, that she never knew about him, she never got to know him. And I'm pretty sure she felt sad knowing if he wasn't like this way, and if he was a different person, that maybe they could have gotten along, as brother and sister. And who knows, maybe he would have been the kind of brother where he would be the good guy, where he would have her back and protect her. But no, he turned out completely different. And I think somehow that probably made her sad, knowing the only one sibling she had, that she never really got to know him well. And yeah, it turns out he was the killer. But also she found out that he was showing these videos of his dad, of Billy's dad and Sydney's mom, that were getting together. And so somehow he had given him advice on how to frame Cotton, because Billy and Stu ended up killing Sydney's mom. So when they did that, somehow they somehow they were given advice by Roman on how to frame Cotton to make it look like he did it when it wasn't him, because Billy and Stu did it. So it's now, I'm pretty sure those who have seen Scream 3 probably don't like that idea in the movie. Now I get that. I do get that you probably don't like how the writers probably put that, like, oh yeah, it was Roman that gave this idea to Billy, and that's why all of this happened. Now I do agree on that, but I do think somehow maybe somehow it's probably possible that maybe somehow Billy was somehow thinking about it at first, maybe before Roman mentioned it to him. Because you know how sometimes when someone tells you something, and even before they have told you, that you were already thinking about it, like maybe you have thought about it maybe weeks ahead before someone told you, or months ahead, or a year ahead. You know, sometimes that happens where we could think of something before, you know, way before someone tells us about it. So it could be possible that too. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I can see how maybe that they didn't have to add, but they did. But like I said, somehow, yeah, I do feel bad for Sydney because she never had anyone, I think, close to her family that would have been there to protect her. Now, I do think her father would, but what about anyone else? What about like an aunt, an uncle, a cousin? Like, other than Jill, what other cousins does she have that probably would be on her side, that would want to be able to protect her, you know? And since Rowan was the only sibling she had, he could have turned out to be the good guy to protect her too, but nope. And that's another thing I'm kind of wondering too, because since Maureen, since when she got a head start, in Hollywood, you know, in these movies, that I wonder if, you know, when she was probably seeing these other guys, and when they did took advantage of her, if you know what I mean. So I'm guessing when that happened and that was going on, I'm wondering if she had gotten pregnant other times before, like before she met Neil Prescott and got married, and before she has Sydney. I'm wondering if she had gotten, you know, pregnant and had other kids maybe before or after Roman. I don't know. So I don't know if Sydney would have maybe one, or, you know, some other siblings, you know, that we probably don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's even possible, if that would somehow fit into the story within that time. I don't know. I'm just saying because I have no idea. So, but you know, again, like I said, everyone did such a good job with the movie, with these characters and the story. And I do think there's some things I think they could have changed, maybe to make it a little bit more, maybe a little bit more scary, but still, I still love it. So yeah, everyone did such a good job, and it's still very enjoyable to watch. And so, I would say to rate it, I would give it a 7 out of 10. I would give it a B. I would give it a at least, I would say 70%, and 3 stars. So that is my rating and my review on Scream 3. So hope you enjoyed this video, and that's all for today, and I'll see you at the movies.